Y'all want to know something? COVID-19 is really just upsetting me and my homegirls because I feel like if we can't go in the classroom and teach with the kids, then what can we do? Hey my loves, it's your girl J-Ish, aka The Rich Auntie, and I am back with yet another video. If you're new here, go ahead and tap that notification bell so you don't ever miss an upload from me. And if you've been here before, thank you so much for coming back. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be for my teachers and my parents. Today, I'm going to be giving you some tips that can help you in regards to remote and virtual learning. Now, y'all know COVID, Miss Rona, she's still out here. She's still roaming, okay? She's still here. Sis is still here and she's still not playing, okay? And let me just tell y'all, like back in March when we shut down, you cannot tell me that in August, COVID-19 was still going to be a topic. Like, I don't know. Maybe I was being too optimistic about it, but I really thought like all this would have passed over by now. Am I the only one who thought that? And it's still here. Like, I got to laugh to keep from crying. But anywho, since Miss Mamas is still here, we still have to abide by CDC guidelines. So I know that most districts and most schools in most places are going to start the year off with remote learning, if not for the entire year, because that's kind of like the only option we have to stay safe. But I will speak for my school and my district. We did give the parents the option to have remote learning and virtual learning, but starting off, we are doing remote learning until September 8th. Now, we already started school. We started school on August 5th, actually, and it is virtual for the time being. So, since I've been teaching since August 5th, and I also taught 6 weeks of summer school, I did that remotely as well. So, I do feel like I have a little bit of experience to give some tips realistically based on what I have experienced. So, I have 6... Girl, and you say you somebody teacher. Six. So I have 6 tips and suggestions to give you guys today in regards to remote and virtual learning. So if you would like to hear what I have to say, then you already know. Just stay tuned. All right, tip number 1 is to pray. Listen, I'm not even being funny with y'all. Like, I don't know what y'all believe in and who you go to as your higher power, but I'm a Christian. I believe in God. So, baby, I have to pray every day. My sisters and brothers, I want you to pray, okay? Because we are still walking on uncharted territory. We don't know. We're facing the unknown every single day. Like, things are constantly changing. And as teachers, y'all know we don't have a say-so in what goes on. So we just have to trust our leaders to do the best that they can. So I just pray that the people who are in those positions of power to make these decisions, that they are guided correctly. And hopefully that's by the voice of God. You can continue to pray for yourself and for your students, and just pray that God keeps your spirit optimistic and just sprinkle positivity over your students. Whether it is traditionally, whether it is remotely, no matter what it is, just pray for a continuous positive and optimistic spirit, because without it, you are going to have a terrible year. I'm telling you, if you go into it knowing that this is not something you want to do, and remote learning is not ideal for any of us. I don't think anybody went into the career field of teaching just to say, oh yeah, I want to sit at home and talking to a camera all day for 8 hours a day. No. We feel like, and I feel like teaching is for the classroom. Teaching is hands-on. Teaching is interaction, face-to-face. So knowing that we can't have that, we just have to stay prayed up, y'all, and just let the Lord do his work and go on from there. And that's all I got to say about that. Tip number 1, pray. Sometimes you got to pray throughout the day. I know I do. I have to go out to my car sometimes and just have a little talk with Jesus. Tell him all about my troubles. But yeah, stay prayed up, y'all. Tip number 2 is all about what platform you're using to greet your students and how will they enter that platform. I know before the shutdown happened, Zoom was really popular, but my district, all of the students have Chromebooks now, and they have Google email accounts. So everything that they have is connected and surrounded around Google. So we chose to use Google Meet as our platform to do our live sessions. So that's what we've been using. And how do you want those kids to enter in your virtual classroom space. I try to look at virtual teaching as closely as I can to traditional teaching, because you do want to give it that same feel. You want it to be almost identical to what it would be like if they were in the classroom. So you still have to set rules and procedures even via the Google Meet session or Zoom or Schoology or whatever it is that your district will be using this year. From the time they log on to the time they log off, you want to have some kind of routine. So I know for me, I've already established that when my kids log on, your microphone should be on mute. And when I see them logging on, I don't start until the first 5 minutes after the allotted time. I leave the first 5 minute window for the kids to log on and get situated, because not everybody is clicking on right at 8 o'clock when they're supposed to. It's not going down like that. So you have to allot some time for them to log on and get accustomed and get comfortable. So during that time, I do want them to come on with their microphone on mute. As they come in, then I greet them. Good morning, so-and-so, and I expect for them to unmute and then say, good morning, Miss Ishman. So that's something you can do. You can also have maybe like a little video playing on the screen or something like that, just to keep them entertained. And I know other teachers that do that. I personally don't do that. I just use the first 5 minutes to have small talk with the kids that are on. So, you know, did y'all have a good night's rest? Did everybody get sleep last night? What did y'all eat for breakfast? You know, what did you do over the weekend? That's that time to have a little chit chat real quick before it's time to dive into the instruction. I would definitely say from day one, establish with your students how it is that you want them to enter into your virtual space. Just like you would in a regular classroom. You know that they have rules and procedures when we're entering the regular classroom. So it has to be parallel on the virtual platform as well. And also how your students receive you as they're entering whatever platform it is that you all choose to use, that determines how your sessions are going to go. If you get on with an attitude, the kids are going to feed off of that, and they're going to have an attitude, and it's just going to be a long dragged out day for the both of y'all, for all y'all. So me personally, I'm normally a happy, optimistic, positive person. So when they're logging on, I'm like, good morning, you know, whatever. So when they see that you're happy to see them, that makes them happy. Because you never know what kids have gone through. This has been hard times for everybody. So you don't know what that kid went through last night or even that morning. So just try to put aside anything that you have personal going on. Because I know we're all still human beings. Teachers are human beings. Even though people look at us as superheroes, we're still human. We still have feelings. We still deal with real life issues from day to day. But just try to put all that aside when you log on with your students and give them the most positive, fun experience and engaging experience as you can, because it's already hard enough to do remote learning. And I don't think people really understand that. Remote learning is definitely a lot harder than traditional learning. And I'm going to just put that out there. I said what I said. If you don't like it, go. No, don't go. Don't go. But for real, I said what I said. Teaching remotely is definitely a lot harder than traditional face-to-face teaching. And I think any teacher can attest to that. It's a lot more work. So my third tip or suggestion is to establish your meeting expectations. How do you want your meeting sessions to go? How do you want them to flow? What is it that you want them to do while they're on there? So every morning, what I do after that 5 minute time has gone by, we go over our Google Meet expectations every single day. I pull up my slide and I read our expectations for it so that everybody is clear and sure and aware of what it is that Miss Ishman wants them to do while they're on there. And I would insert it somewhere so that y'all can see it. I didn't create it, but I did tweak it to my liking. I got it from another teacher and I loved it. And we look at that slide every day and the kids can see it, so they're looking at me reading our expectations off, and I get them to repeat them back to me. And when we're done going over the expectations, if you understand what Ms. Ishman wants from you today, can you give me a thumb? Because when I'm talking, everybody's microphone is on mute. So I do a lot of visual cues to make sure that they're still listening and paying attention to me. So just tell them to give you a thumbs up if they can understand, or nod their head. Yes, ma'am, I understand that they understand what it is that you want from them during that session that day. And I guess that's kind of like a way that I go over my rules and procedures and expectations virtually, like you would like the first six weeks of school in person. You have to go over those procedures every single day until they have it locked in their minds. Okay, this is what Miss Ishmael wants from us when we have to do this, and when she wants us to do this, this is what she wants us to do. So you have to be repetitive. For lack of a better word, you have to be repetitive, and any teacher knows that. And I teach elementary school, so you definitely have to be repetitive with the little ones for weeks and weeks until they get it in their little brains that this is what my teacher wants from me. Rule number 3, go over the expectations every single day. Okay? Suggestion and tip number 4, distractions. This is a big one because it is different. The vibe is different. The setting is different for everybody. When kids are in your space, in your classroom, they're more likely to do what it is that you want them to do because they're not in their comfort zones, especially at the beginning of the year. Now, since you're doing remote teaching and they're still at home where they're comfortable, so they're more likely to give you problems over the computer. And there's only so much that you can do about it. So I would just suggest to set expectations for distractions as well. You have to. Because if you don't, nothing would get taught because there's too much going on around them. And as far as distractions, this is also a great time to give your parents some expectations as well. So for example, if you don't want kids getting up and walking off from the camera, if you don't want them eating, and if you don't want them going to get random toys to show to the class and going to get their little sister and brother to present to the class, or their pets and their dogs and their cats, because there's a time and place for everything. I would just try to embed like a little show and tell on Fridays, just a little time where everybody can burst at the seams with all the things they've been trying to show us all week. But this is also the time for you to communicate with your parents that this is what I expect from your child while we are logged on and I'm giving live instruction. Parents, this is for y'all. If you see that your child is being a distraction, because y'all ain't far away from the computers, we know that y'all within arm's length. So if you see that your child is being a distraction or not paying attention, just quietly redirect them and let them know that they need to be paying attention, or put this down. Or I would just suggest to, because I'm not telling people how to parent, but I'm just telling what I know teachers would rather have. Just try to, if you can, try to have your student in a space that is free of clutter and distractions, a place where they can solely go where they receive the instruction from their teacher. So I wouldn't suggest doing it in their room, because that's where they have a lot of their toys and a lot of things that are there that can distract them. So I would just try to find a nice little quiet place that doesn't have too much, like a little table or something, where they can just set up and have their supplies ready to receive instruction for the day. But if you see them being a distraction, just hey, little Johnny, don't play with me, and go on about your business, okay? Teachers, do let your students know that there is a time and place for everything, and the first time you see it happening, just nip it in the bud. Because if you don't nip it in the bud with the first kid that does it, it's going to be like a domino effect, and kids are just going to keep doing things to distract everybody else, and you're never going to get anything accomplished. And that's not good for anybody, because whether or not we're in person or doing this thing virtually, we still have to teach children. So it's just better if you just nip all the distractions in the bud and let them know, hey, and if you have to be a little firm in doing so, that's fine. Because you may have to be a little bit more firm through the computer than you do in class, because they're in their comfort zones, and you have to get that point across, like, hey, I'm still your teacher. This is a time of learning. This is not the time where we pull out toys and play and talk to each other. I will set aside a time for us to have that. But right now, we are learning. So that's what we're going to do. I need everybody's ears listening to me, and I need everybody's eyes looking at me. That way I know you are engaged and involved in what I'm talking about. Okay, so if you have to even get it like that, then by all means do so. And I don't think their parents will have a problem with that, because that's what you would do if you were in the classroom. So you have to make it as identical and parallel to that traditional face-to-face instruction as possible. So that still goes along with number 2, with setting those expectations. No distractions. Tip number 5, How will your students get your attention, and how will you get their attention? This is a big one, and it's kind of a difficult one because the more students you have in your class, the more students you have to try to wrangle and keep their attention for this super long allotted amount of time. So you have to have ways to where they can get your attention without being a disruption, and you can get everybody's attention to where they all redirect back to you. So that's something. So I know in Google Meet, and I know on Zoom, I'm not really familiar with any other live session platforms, but I know on Zoom and on Google Meet, they have chat boxes. They have the option to raise their hand. I know for me personally, I teach first grade now, so my students are still in the swing of just raising their hand on the camera. And so if I see them raising their hand, then I'll just call on them. That has been working so far. I haven't introduced the go click on the raise the hand button. They have just been, raising their hand and waiting for me to call on them. So that has been working so far. So if it ain't broke, I ain't trying to fix it right now, okay? So if they just want to raise their hands and wait on me to call on them, that's fine. But I know Zoom and Google Meet, they have the option to raise the hand, and for the older kids that know how to type and create sentences, they can utilize the chat box. That way they're just not blurting out in the middle of you talking and speaking. They can just give you a non-verbal signal to let them know that they need to be called upon or that they need your attention. So I would just try to utilize the chat box, utilize like raising their hands, or for younger kids, touch your nose, give me a thumb on your chest if you need my attention, just something like that. So anything to not get them to blurt out and interrupt you while you're teaching. The bigger thing is, how will you get everybody's attention? Let's say you are a teacher that has 25 kids in your class and they're all over the place, because it's not going to be a perfect day to day where they're sitting up like soldiers all day long. No, they're children. It ain't going to work like that. So if you see that everybody's getting a little rowdy and you want to redirect them and pull their attention back in, you have to have a way of doing that. And yelling over the computer is not an effective way to do that. You may have like a little bell or something that you may tap 3 times. You may have a little clap rhythm that you have to get their attention. You may have a song that you play that lets them know that when they hear that song, Miss Ishman or whoever their teacher is needs my attention. So there are a lot of different ways that you can do that. So I have a bell personally. I haven't had any issues with my students being super rowdy as of yet, and I guess it's because it's still kind of new for everybody, and most of my students, their parents are there, so I don't have a lot of behavior problems out of my students to where I can't get their attention or that I don't already have their attention. But if you do come across an issue like that, just try to have some kind of sound signal or something where everybody can hear it all at once, other than your voice. I hope I'm making sense, other than you just saying, hey class, or hey students, listen to me, something like that, because that probably won't work all the time if everybody's talking. So you want some kind of loud sound or a song, or maybe you share your screen and a song or something is playing. Or you may have some kind of picture or something that you share your screen with, and once they see that, that means stop what you're doing, be quiet, and listen to your teacher. Or I would have some kind of visual cue or some kind of verbal cue other than your voice that lets them know that my teacher needs my attention. I hope that makes sense. Another thing about your students getting your attention, make sure you set the expectation that when they need to get your attention, that it's relevant to the topic. Some kids will flag you down while you're in the middle of teaching reading or math or whatever it is, just to be like, Miss Ishman, my dog ate a bone. And you sitting there thinking in your mind, what the heck does that have to do with reading and math right now? So please let it be known in your expectations. When you go over those daily expectations of what you expect from them, please let them know to stay on topic. If you have a question, please let it be about what we're talking about, unless it's an emergency, and we'll get to those in a little bit. I don't want to hear about your dog. I don't want to hear about what you did at the park on the slide. If it's not about reading or math or language or science or social studies, we're going to have to save that for the end. Okay, so please let your kids know. And I guess I'm speaking more so for the younger kids, because the older kids probably wouldn't do that. But younger kids, they're so full of information that they're ready to just pour out to you every single day. So you have to allot some time either before class or at the end of class for them to just spill their guts about everything they did last night, over the weekend, last month, last year. You know, it's random at times. You know, they may think of something that happened 2 years ago, and when they think about it, they got to tell you right then. And don't embarrass them in front of everybody. You know, just like, you know, Johnny, that is great, that's awesome, I'm so glad your dog did that. But we're talking about reading right now, so we'll talk about that a little later, okay? And jump right back into your lesson and keep it moving. You know, so don't embarrass the kids, but do let them know, okay, that's great, but that's not what we're talking about right now. We'll get back to that later. And that also ties in with distractions. You know, that's just another distraction, because once one kid do it and you don't nip it in the bud, everybody got a story after that. After they see you nip it in the bud with the first kid, nobody else is gonna try you, depending on how firm you are with it, with letting them know, like, no, we're doing reading, we're doing math, or whatever it is right now. We're not talking about stuff like that right now. So once you get it together the first time, it won't happen again, hopefully. And tip number 6, I got it right this time. Tip number 6, how will your students leave your sessions? Do you just want them clicking off? Do you have some kind of, not necessarily greeting, some kind of goodbyes that you would like to say? Or is everybody just logging off at some time? It may not be likely that all your students stay on the entire time, because emergencies do happen, things happen, they're at home with their parents, so they may have to get up and go sometimes, and that's fine. But still, that goes back to how will your students get your attention, and how will they let you know that they need to leave? If possible, I just tell my parents, if it's something like that, just type it in the chat box so that I can see it and read it, and I will give you a thumb, or okay, that's fine, and you can go. Normally, I don't like for students to get up and leave away from the computer while I'm giving direct instruction. So if I'm teaching like a full-on lesson, they are not to get up and leave unless it is absolutely an emergency. Not saying that they have to go to the bathroom, because we have bathroom breaks. I allot time for things like that. So that's, unless it's just absolutely, and I mean that, absolutely an emergency. I don't want my students getting up while I'm teaching. Just as you set those expectations for your students to enter your classroom, you have to set those same expectations for how they should leave the classroom. Don't allow your students to feel like they can just tap in and out of your sessions whenever they feel like it. My students know until I say, all right, boys and girls, we're done for the day. Thank you for staying on. Thank you for listening and following directions. You can go ahead and press the little red button, and I will see you all tomorrow, and we say our goodbyes. Until I say that, you're not going anywhere. We're still on. So until I give the okay that it's okay to leave the classroom, nobody is to leave this classroom unless I speak with an adult, or it's some kind of serious emergency going on, and I give the okay that they can leave. At the end of the day, when teachers are doing remote learning, we are the guests in the students' homes. So we still have to be mindful that some things will come up where the kid cannot stay on all day long because they're at home, and parents have things that they need to do still, and they can't leave their kids at home, so the kid just gonna have to go on with them, and that's fine. But on a regular, any given day, I don't expect for my students to just get up and log off anytime they feel like it. Set that expectation as well. Just as you want them to get on, you want them to have a routine for getting off. All right, loves, that's all I have for this video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you don't ever miss an upload from me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you all, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.